All right, a happy hour Friday edition. Yes, indeed, we've reached the Friday show, so we get a little off topic script. Although I don't know on a Friday when the Phillies are the only team left in biz that we much have a script at this point. Bob Wankel's with us from Crossing Broad. They like to go off script over there as well, so this is very apropos. What's happening, man?
What's up, Mike? Now, I got to tell you, I was listening before the break there, and I'm a little bit offended. You said I'm a moderate IPA guy, a novice? What was the word?
I say that I would imagine. Now, McGarry was on earlier, and I said he strikes me as the Coors Light, Miller Lite, Bud Light guy, right?
Yeah.
So I said, I think you're an IPA guy, but I think it's like you're in like the amateur levels of this, like you're learning.
All right, so I got one for you here. Have you ever heard of Untapped? Are you familiar with Untapped?
I do. I am a big Untapter, by the way.
Okay. All right. So if you were to go on Untapped right now, you would see that I have checked in 485 different IPAs.
Really?
I have downloaded the Untapped app. And I got to be honest with you, man, quite a few of those I've had, and I don't quite remember them and never got around to checking them in. So I think there's probably like safely another 75 or 100 that I could have tacked onto that.
Now, that's impressive. I am on Untapped. I have checked in often, and I don't think I think mine says 204 check-ins, 134 different beers. Okay. Now, part of the problem has been in the last year, it was actually June 22nd is when I started the keto from last year. I basically went to strictly low-cal, low-carb IPAs. So it's a year of my check-ins.
It's a little limiting, too.
Yes, but the reason I had to lose the 65 pounds was because of the 204 check-ins.
Yeah, so, like, my diet basically, like, I'm a human dumpster. Like, my diet is just absolutely terrible. But what I've done is I've sort of, like, just outrun and outworked the beers and the pizza and the wings. So I'm like a 40, 50 mile an hour or a 40, 50 mile run guy per week. So I try to offset the damage I do with the IPAs and stuff like that with the exercise.
Now, I promised the listeners on Fridays I will give out my beer to go find this week, and my beer this week is the Drake's Kickback, all right? Drake's Kickback is a low-cal, low-carb IPA, little citrusy, hard to find, though. I've only found it at 2 spots down the shore. Drake's Kickback. It's Buy Right in Ventnor has it. And the Bootleggers in Northfield is where I have also found it, but very limited there. They don't have it all the time because I usually buy them out. So you would say you are not novice.
I'm definitely not a novice. I'm probably a little bit ashamed of how much of not a novice I am.
Well, I have been in the work. I've been wanting to start a craft beer podcast. Would you say you would be up to par to be able to be a part of that?
Yeah, probably. But and the thing is, I'm not pretentious about it either. Like I'm not a guy that's like, I won't drink Bud Light. Like,
right.
I'll have a Bud Light, I'll have a Coors Light, but I enjoy beer. That's definitely my voice for sure.
All right, we're on board there. All right, so it's Happy Hour Friday. What do you got locked and loaded?
We got a little other half. I've gotten into other half IPAs lately. They're like kind of just starting to kind of creep into the South Jersey realm here. So, I'm tell you what too. My wife actually hooked me up. It's our second wedding anniversary coming up next week, and she got me a Yeti, like a transportable Yeti. And she filled it up with like a variety of different IPAs and stuff and some sours. And so I actually don't even know what's in that. So I'm going to tap into that at some point this weekend. We'll see.
Okay, that's good. Yeah, my girl also joins me on the crusade. So we find stuff together. See, last week, I don't think I had asked for – I found this beer called Hazy Pup. It's the little sister, I guess you would say, or the little brother of the Wolf Pup, which is a Golden Road beer, which is out a lot of places. But Hazy Pup is the low-cal, low-carb version of the Wolf Pup. So a listener found it for me because I could only find it in Florida. That's the only place. A listener found it. He tweeted at me, and then I went to that place and bought them out. So now I have that in my fridge ready to go. So there we go. All right.
Good man.
Now, I'm imagining with watching these double headers today, you might need to get into that variety pack.
When it's all said and done. So I won't. I don't indulge even if I'm not covering the game. Like I'm not going to do it during the game. We try to keep things professional here. But come 10:30, 11 o'clock tonight, or whenever I'm done what I need to do, yeah, I'll probably dive into a couple for sure.
Okay, well, let's dive into some news and notes because the game just started, and that they elected to change closers finally. And I say finally because I'm not like you got to remove Neris, only because I don't really have an answer. I don't have an option. Now, Frank brought up yesterday, what about trying Spencer Howard? You can't pitch him more than 3 innings anyway. What about utilizing the talents he has as your closer and extend your bullpen? I like that idea. I'm fine with that, but they decided to go with Jose Alvarado. He's going to be the closer, at least in the short term. Do you support this move?
It's interesting. Like you want Neris out. Everybody wants Neris out. He blows, 5 out of 15 opportunities, 3 of his last 5. And you kind of look around out there and say, who's the next most obvious candidate? And I'm okay with the idea of maybe eventually getting to Spencer Howard. I don't hate that. But I don't think that they have a definitive path forward for him yet. And so if he's going to end up being a bullpen guy second half of the season, maybe that's something to consider. Right now, I guess the most obvious guy that you turn to is Jose Alvarado, just when you consider when he's on, he's about as nasty as it gets. Opponents, I believe, are hitting like 167 against him this year. Problem is, of course, he's walking almost 8 batters per 9 innings. I mean, you look at the numbers, right? You say, okay, 167 batting average against. Guys are getting on base against him, though, at a 359 clip. So, I mean, that just goes to show you how ineffective he's been at times and how wild he's been. It's going to be an absolute roller coaster. I mean, he's hard as hell to hit, but he issues a lot of free passes, and that's usually a pretty dangerous game to play, especially in the 9th inning. So Joe Girardi just does not have a lot of options. This is a desperation move. I get why he's making it, and we'll see what happens with it.
Yeah, you're in a situation where, I mean, you remember Mitch Williams in 93, some people out there. This is almost double time of that. I like Alvarado. He throws hard, yada, yada. You can't trust him in the 9th inning situation.
No, it's just game to game with him. You just really don't know what you're going to get. Now, that being said, he has made 6 straight appearances, I believe, without allowing an earned run. And he's been pretty good, especially the last couple times out. So I guess Girardi's sort of just more or less playing the hot hand. And we'll see what happens. I think that they wanted to give Hector Neris every opportunity to remain the closer. He's the guy that has probably some of the better stuff. I know that Phillies fans don't really feel that way, but I mean, at the end of the day, he's still one of their most effective relievers. But I think it just reached a point on Wednesday afternoon where they just had to do something different here.
Yeah, I get that. I guess that means they're not going to close the door on having him go back there. But, I mean, he's now, I guess, in an 8th inning setup type of role. And I would imagine that that's not great either, considering that he's had his issues everywhere. Let me ask you this. I know this is probably brought up, but have they ever considered letting Velasquez close? Like, I hate him as a starter. I am completely out on him as a starter, but I don't have a problem giving him a shot to do that.
Yeah, I mean, listen, he has pitched fairly well for them in spots this year, and you'd like to say that as a guy that can't really go deep into games, why not? Why not just say, here's the ball, here's the 9th inning, and see what happens? You really don't have anything to lose. And I think that that's the biggest thing. Like, if the Phillies were good and they had a lot of depth in the bullpen and they had a lot of different intriguing options, I'd say no. Like, that's not what you want to do. Like, just let the guy be a low-leverage reliever. But they don't have alternative options. And so why not kind of get weird here, so to speak, and maybe explore some outside-the-box, I guess just take a different path here. I mean, it's not working. Like, you saw Velasquez for 4 innings, was pretty decent against Washington, gets to the 5th inning, he loses his command entirely. I just don't know, even if those first 3 to 4 innings look pretty good, how you can keep turning to a guy every 5th day that isn't going to be able to pitch you past the 5th inning. Right. So I don't hate the idea.
I guess it's akin to what we're talking about with the closer spot, Bob, where they don't have any other options, so we got to just go with guys who might be able to do it. But at what point do you say, look, I know this guy can't do it. I know somebody else can, but I got to find a new role for him. This role, he just had been given too many options. Maybe the guy who fills his spot isn't the guy either, but we already definitively know this guy can't do it. That's what bothers me.
Yeah, I mean, they're basically in a spot where they're making changes for the sake of making changes. It's not that you have any belief in what you're replacing the guy with. It's just that it's like, well, hey, why not? We have nothing else to lose. It can't be any worse. And I feel like for the last number of years with this team, that's kind of what you say. Anytime you do a shakeup, anytime you move the parts around, you say, well, it can't be any worse. That's not a great reason to have to make changes or want to make changes. And unfortunately, that's an indictment of where they're at in terms of their minor league depth, how they build out the back end or like the lower third of their major league roster. And I mean, it's just what we saw this week against the Nationals was just an absolute mess, and especially on Wednesday. And I think that a lot of people have probably reached their breaking point with this team. And we'll see what happens this weekend in New York. Now, Aaron Nola today puts 2 men in scoring position on 4 pitches into the game. But since then, as we speak right now, he has struck out 6 consecutive batters. So Aaron Nola early on today has it going on, but the Phillies have yet to score now through 3 innings. So they are in an absolute must-win scenario. You can sugarcoat it. You can say, oh, listen, it's still early. It's still the first half of the season. The Phillies have to win at least, in my opinion, at least 2 games in this series. And if they really want to get serious and get people back on board, they got to take 3. And I don't know how they're going to do that.
Yeah, I agree. I was going to say, how important is this particular series? Because you're playing the team that's directly in first place. If you lose 3 out of 4 or even, by gosh, get swept, are we looking at a situation where Dombrowski almost has his answer to what this team is or this season is? Because we know what this team is.
Yeah, I think so. When you look at this and you just kind of project out, you say, all right, they got 90 games left. Like, there's no series in June that can be do or die. It just can't be that way. But it is for this team, because what we know is this. The Phillies are not good enough as currently constructed to win the National League East. It's not going to happen. It just isn't going to happen. So they're going to have to make additions if they want in 2021 to win this year. Well, they're going to have to get within striking distance, as Bryce Harper talked about the other day, to make it worth Dave Dombrowski's while. Like force him to go out and be aggressive and add on to this current team. They're not going to be able to make a sizable move. Like if they lose 3 out of 4 or get swept in this series, I mean, they're going to be anywhere between 7 and 9 games back of the Mets. They're not going to be able to close that gap in the next 3 to 4 weeks leading up to the trade deadline to make this team go out and want to be a buyer. So to me, yeah, this is make or break, last gasp, really important.
Totally agree with that. All right, Bob Wankel, Crossing Broad, our look at the Phillies weekend. Very important against the Mets. And, of course, it's Aaron Nola today, so you got to feel like you got to get a win, because if he doesn't get the win, you're running into DeGrom tomorrow. Who's pitching tomorrow?
And you got Matt Moore in Game 2 tonight.
Oh, jeez. We got DeGrom tomorrow, so you're not winning that game. You know you're down 1 game in this series already to begin with. Yeah. All right, well, enjoy the variety pack tonight.
All right, man. I'll talk to you soon.
All right, Bob Wankel here on the Sports Bash. Crossing Broad, he covers the Phillies.